Welcome everybody to the Photo Brew. I'm Manny Besserell and
I'm David Lopez.
we're here to talk about our two favorite things. What's that, David?
Coffee and cameras.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
So to start this off, David brought us a little present. Can you tell us what's in that little baggie, David?
It's not marijuana, I promise.
Oh shit.
So today we have some coffee from our friends over at Espresso Cuts. Believe they said it was a blend of Nicaraguan coffee. I don't have the card in front of me, but let's go ahead and try it.
All right. Try it.
Brewed some up. Cheers, salud.
Cheers, salute.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that is
It's
fucking
really
delicious. And I normally don't drink coffee black, but when I do try a new
This
coffee,
is the best way to drink it, man.
I drink it black just to get the full taste.
Mhm.
So
That's the way you got to do it.
most of the time I like my coffee like I like my women, and no, it's not black. It's bitter.
No comment. I'm just drinking coffee.
Sorry, babe. You're not listening to this anyways. Nerd shit.
Shit. But yeah, I like the coffee just because it's very smooth. Kind of has like a subtle molasses like taste to it.
Yeah, it's got a really, really good taste.
Yeah, it's good. Good stuff.
And it's been a while since I've had like freshly ground coffee as well.
Yeah.
So, because going to work at 4:30 in the morning, I just get the canned shit. So I'm just
Yeah.
brewing it up and going.
I
to
remember
work.
those days when I worked as a barista. I had to get up early to go work at the coffee shop I worked at. And I wouldn't even like grind coffee at home. I would just wait till I get to work, grind it there,
Yeah.
and then just brew stuff so we have stuff ready to go for when we open, and then I could just drink that. So it's super fresh. But there's just something different when you have like a hand grinder and just do a pour over.
Yeah, and it just the taste, like, to me, like, it's so much better just freshly ground beans. Like, I
Mhm.
don't like to grind my beans at night and then do it in the morning because I feel like it loses that taste.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be an asshole and grind beans at like 4:30 in the morning while everyone's trying to sleep. I'm like, oh, he's making his coffee.
Yeah.
So
That's why I have a hand grinder. It's not an electric one. It's
Uh-huh.
the one I have is called the Porlex Mini.
uh-huh.
It's like the best $60 grinder I own. It's super easy to clean. It's all ceramic parts with the metal casing,
Nice.
and it's not that loud when you start cranking it to grind the beans. It's pretty quiet.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
Do it, man.
So, all right. So let's get into the first topic now that we had our coffee and we got to try this new brew.
Oh, quick thing too. We're in the process of getting everything set up so we could do kind of like a video podcast. So stay tuned for that. This is kind of like just our first
Yeah, it's kind of
audio
like
only.
the pilot.
Yeah,
So
like pilot only. Or
we got to get the studio set up. I've had this room for quite some time and it's turned into a bit of a storage room. So I kind of got to get it into shape so we can make it our home.
hell yeah, man.
So, first things first. What camera would you want to talk about? What's the hot topic?
Dude, there's been, I mean, okay, like what, in the last 3 weeks, there's been
So much.
so much camera news. We got the R5, the R6, the A7S3,
Yes.
the, I think it was the Blackmagic Ursa Mini that could shoot 12K video.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too fond of cinema cameras, so, and I don't really know much about it, so probably won't
Yeah.
talk about that. But definitely the Canons and the Sonys.
Yes.
a lot-
The rivalry.
A lot
The
of
rivalry
heat.
is real.
A lot of heat came out.
Yep. A lot of heat came out.
So I guess let's talk with the R5, R6, just because the reason they've been all over the place recently is because of the overheating issues.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been saying like, oh, it overheats because like, may or may not have good like heat sinks and stuff like that, and like obviously it shoots 8K RAW for the R5.
Hey, what do you want for $4,000?
I mean, a camera that doesn't overheat. And it's not so much the overheating that is the issue. It's more of the recovery times.
Yeah.
Especially because I've seen a lot of videos from like Armando Ferreira, Potato Jet, Peter McKinnon, Matty Hapoya. They all kind of talked about the overheating. But Potato Jet and Armando specifically did it more in a like production style
Yeah.
shoot where you're gonna be using it for long hours, not just for like a YouTube video. and the recovery times have been atrocious, where it overheats and you have to wait up 2 hours just to use the camera.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's just going to be like a firmware update or something because it seems like everybody says the same thing. Like, even though it's overheating and the time limit, like, as soon as it starts back up, like, they don't get very much recording time.
Yeah.
The camera's not hot. They can take out the battery, they can take out the memory cards, and nothing is hot. So it's like, that's kind of strange because,
I think it might be a firmware thing.
yeah, and I think maybe they put out the camera a little too soon because they promised people they were going to give the camera out, and I feel like they kind of put it out too soon,
Hmm.
and I think they're kind of using it as like, hey, look, we can do 8K now, so guess what? We're going to be releasing a cinema camera soon, and it's going to be
Well, according to
badass.
Canon rumors, when I checked this morning, they are in the process of supposedly announcing 2 new cinema cameras that can shoot 8K, and I think one of which is going to be an RF cinema camera, which will be cool.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think they necessarily put the camera out too soon. I feel like it's just that they marketed it as the kind of like jack of all trades type of camera, where like you could do video with it, you could do stills, and because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like if you look at a lot of the Canon cameras versus Sony, and for those of you who don't know, I actually shot Sony in 2018 for an entire year, switched from shooting with Canon and Panasonic over to Sony. Eventually went back to Canon just because I wasn't really in love with the Sony system.
Hmm.
Fantastic system, not for me. But the way Canon marketed these cameras are they pushed it more towards the video centric people, which is YouTubers and
Yeah.
people that run productions. But at the end of the day, even with the R6 as well, they're both photography first cameras.
Yeah.
And if you look at Sony's with the A7S III, the reason
Straight video.
it's strictly video. That's why it doesn't
Yeah.
have a high megapixel count, because that's why it makes it a better camera in low light, because you have more bigger. Get super nerdy here real quick. Like you have bigger pixel. I think they're called pixel diodes, and
Yeah.
so like it absorbs more light, so it gets you a cleaner image at really high ISOs.
Did you see the Manny Ortiz video
Which
where he
one?
was talking about the R5? I guess they used it, and he said he ended up having to use the Sony
Oh
camera
yeah, I just
as
watched
the
that actually
backup
before I
because it
came,
just like was crazy. Like, just it
and they
wouldn't
were just
come.
using it for like 30 minutes, I think.
Yeah, and he was just saying like as far as photography camera, it blows Sony out the water. Like, it's a
Yeah,
legit
and he was using
camera.
the he
And
was using
he's a Sony fanboy, you know that. So he's just like, well, I mean, he said he loves Canon
Yeah,
still,
and the setup he
but
was using was a EF 200 mil
uh
adapted, and I mean that thing was just a chunky lens. But yeah, so I mean it's definitely a photography first camera, video second. For me personally, because I shoot Canon, I do have a bias towards Canon. The overheating isn't an issue for me, just because all the video work I've done the last few years has all been in 1080p.
hmm
Because either the client's going to put it on their website, which no one's going to watch that shit in 4K.
yeah,
It's probably going to go on YouTube, which most of the traffic comes from mobile users. Not a lot of phones have 4K screens that I'm aware
yeah,
of, and or it's going to live on Instagram,
yeah. And
which
who's gonna watch 4K on their phone unless
and
they're
even
at
then it's
home
like you
under
have
Wi-Fi?
compression. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you have all this compression. So I still think 1080p is going to be relevant 5 to maybe 10 years from now.
Yeah, they got a lot of catching up to do with computers and just
Hmm.
software and like even like what Lightroom and a lot of those
Hmm.
video editing like programs are having a hard time even just to edit the pictures or to edit the videos, and you would think that they would have been on top of that knowing
Yeah.
that the camera's going to come out like, oh shit, we need to put out what we need to put out so these people can use our stuff,
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie
um
though, like I definitely want to try the A7S III,
uh-huh
because I like that they gave it a flip out screen, and they also redesigned the Sony menu. Because if you guys have ever shot with Sony or had to use one, the old menu system is very atrocious, and the fact that when I had the A7R III and the A7 III,
uh-huh
the touchscreen was only used for touch to focus. You had to use the joysticks and the dials to navigate the
oh wow.
menus. And when you're trying to change settings in a menu system that's like 20, 30 pages deep,
Yeah, it takes
it,
a
it gets
long time.
it's a pain in the ass, and it's not fun to use. Again, fantastic
Yeah.
camera's just not for me.
And then for video, like, I mean, I've never really dabbled in video. Like, I'm probably dabble in video with you at some point when
Hmm.
we're messing around with like YouTube stuff. But Just the whole, what was it, 240 frames per second on that Sony?
Yeah, it's insane.
That's insane, like slow motion for just like a normal consumer camera.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty cool in my opinion.
Yeah, and then, like, I mean, when I had the GH5, like, the most it could do was 180 frames, and
Yeah.
that was still pretty smooth. But yeah, like, again, I just want to try the Sony just to see how different it is now that they are in this iteration. Because the one thing Sony's really good at, I feel, and what's led them to dominate the market is that they're really good at listening to the consumers.
Hmm.
Um, where Canon kind of chugs along, kind of like Apple, where they like
Yeah.
slowly implement things over time.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Canon is the Apple of the camera brand.
Yeah.
But I think if they can do some type of a firmware update to where they can give you a time limit, and that time limit is the time limit regardless of overheating or
Hmm.
whatever, like for the 8K or even just for the 4K video, I think people would be happy with that
Oh yeah, definitely.
because
Cause
it is a killer camera and it's for $4,000. That thing is a beast.
yeah, I mean, and
It's
I
way
mean,
advanced.
if you even look at the R6 too, it's like the baby brother. And if you look at the specs, it's using the same sensor and processor as the 1DX Mark III. So for
Yeah,
$2,500, which is like what, a third of the price for a 1DX3.
you're getting a mirrorless 1DX Mark
Yeah,
III.
that could take EF and RF, has IBIS,
Yep.
can shoot 4K,
I
all that
can't
good
wait till
stuff.
you get yours so we can play with
Dude,
it.
I'm like counting the days because I really wish Canon dropped that one first and then the
Yeah.
R5. But I'm kind of hoping that by the time the R6 rolls out, they have some sort of fixes for the overheating.
Yeah.
Again, not a huge issue for me because I'm just gonna shoot 1080p all day, especially because my 2017 MacBook Pro only is a dual core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM. That's not gonna handle 4K that well.
Yeah.
So
Oh man. And like I'm just glad that a lot of these YouTubers or just photographers are calling out like the whole overheating thing and just
hmm
saying, "Hey, most of the people that are crying about this are probably never going to use that
no,
anyways in a real world situation. Like they're probably never going to use it, but they're crying about it because it's a specs war. They're not actually
yeah,
using the tools that are given. Like every camera is a tool, and depending on what we're doing, like I just shoot photography, that would probably be like an awesome camera for me to own just because I can do things that I probably can't on mine. Like as far as like
yeah, and you print your work a lot
yeah,
more
and
than
I
a lot
do
of
print
us
my
do.
work a
So
lot. And I do understand that when you print big, you're not really going to use the megapixels, but it's cool to have those megapixels when editing or if I wanted to crop in
hmm
or, stuff like that. Like, I think people don't really understand that they see megapixels and they think, oh, I need to have more megapixels. I'm going to have better prints. And
no,
they don't
that's
really
not how it works.
understand how everything works. And I mean, I had to get schooled by a buddy of mine who owns a print shop, and he's the
hmm
one that told me, hey, I can render your pictures. We can blow it up to a billboard size and it's like 12 megapixels or like,
That's
something
crazy.
ridiculous. Just send me the files at like 250 DPI and we're good. I was like, shit, okay.
Yeah, and so it's just like, yeah, like, and then with the, because a lot that's the argument that a lot of people are saying, like, about the R6, like, oh, it only has 20 megapixels, like, why? And it's just like, well, 20 megapixels is like, for me personally, doing photography for 8 years, and after shooting on the A7R III, which had 42 megapixels, that I didn't really fully utilize, maybe for cropping
Uh-huh.
when editing, because I never print my work. The files are big,
Yeah.
and there was no way to like make them smaller, like on the Canon cameras you could shoot small, medium, or large.
Uh-huh.
It was either compressed or uncompressed, and compressed you do lose some quality, so I just shot uncompressed. But my point is 20 to 30 megapixels is kind of the sweet spot because it's still big enough for a lot of printed work, like you were saying. Like,
Uh-huh.
you have a 12 megapixel image and still blow it up the size of a billboard.
Yeah.
And you know the upside of having less megapixels is you get better low light,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm really excited to go try out the R6 when I get it with the 85 adapted and shoot at night at like 1.4 and just see how the results are.
I mean, I've seen, I think, I don't remember which YouTube video it was, but I did watch one where somebody was using the video side of it
Hmm.
and just was shooting at night, and they're like, holy shit, like I can't believe like I'm actually getting this and it's not grainy, like
Yeah,
I'm not getting any grain, and
that's
it's
crazy.
pretty crazy to think that the technology has gotten so good that it doesn't really matter which camera you have. You can do so much with what's out there now
Yeah, and
compared to what it was before. So
I mean, I remember when Adrian was talking about our friend Adrian shoots on the EOS RP. Actually, all of us, with the exception
yeah,
of
we
Jaden, shoot on the RP. I had the EOS R, but I sold it to get the R6. But out of our group, the three of us shoot on the RP. And I remember when Adrian was finally like posting about it, and like more people started asking him like what camera he was using. And he told him like, "Oh, I shoot on the RP," and they're like, "Oh, why'd you pick that camera? It's a piece of shit," and blah blah blah. I was just like, I mean, if it's making you money
yeah.
and it's getting the job done, and you're doing professional quality work with $1,000 camera, I mean, then technically it's
Oh
a
man,
professional
it's a
camera.
fucking great underrated camera. Like everybody, I almost had buyer's remorse when I first got it
Hmm.
because I was thinking, ah, shit, for like a couple $100 more, I can get the R, and I'm glad I didn't because for the same price, I got the RP and the 35 millimeter f1.8 macro lens, and that lens is a fucking beast. I
It's
mean,
so
I
good.
mean, I'm using that playing at home, being inspired by you and Adrian, just doing like product stuff, and I've been using that lens the most, and just because I can get in really close with it, and it's a beast lens, man. Like just the
Hmm.
quality that comes out of that thing, like you would think had a red ring on it.
I
It's
wish.
sharp.
And that's the thing,
Yeah.
and that the other upside too with the Canon mirrorless cameras is that you could crop the sensor. So for some of the product shots that you've seen, I've used the 35, but then I would crop it so it's closer to like a 50
Hmm.
because it crops it by 1.6 times. Yeah, so about like a 50 and some change millimeter.
Okay.
And because I want the 100 millimeter macro, I just don't have $800 lying around right now to
Yeah.
buy it, so I have to make do with what I have. But it's nice to get even closer and like get a different perspective because 50 is pretty good for product
I
photography
don't
as
know.
well.
You can give up that 85.
I mean I will be honest. I have thought of selling it just to buy the 100
Well,
mil
that's like an
macro.
F2, right?
It's a f2.8. And because I do most of my work on my page, D-Lo Visuals is product photography.
Hmm.
It would make more sense to have it. However, I still enjoy street photography, and I just love the 85 for street photography. It
And that
just
100 would probably work well for
oh
street,
yeah,
and I'm sure for like portraits, it's a killer. I mean,
yeah.
you're getting the compression on top of the f2.8, so I'm pretty sure it's not gonna make that big of a difference as far
And
as
I
like if
think it's
blowing shit
stabilized too.
out.
So,
Yeah, so I'm sure you can.
but I love that like 85 mil, man. If you guys ever get a chance to shoot with an 85 millimeter for street photography, and the reason I actually started using that lens is back when I was working with my friend Jason Vong. He did a video interview with this guy named Professor Hines. He's a street
Hmm.
photographer over in New York, shoots on Sony, and he says that one of his go-to lenses is the 85 millimeter.
Hmm.
And a lot of people told him like would say like, "Oh, 85 is kind of like unconventional for street. It's like, isn't it too tiny?" It's like, well, no, like nowhere on the box, and this is me quoting him.
Yeah.
Nowhere on the box for any of the lenses does it say lens is for portraits, this lens is for street, this lens is for landscapes. Like that's kind of just like
Yeah.
labels that people put on these lenses because that's kind of like commonly what they are used for. Like you typically shoot wide angle if you're doing like
Yeah, I think I've seen that interview,
cityscapes and
and
whatnot.
it was somebody talking about that same thing,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, nowhere on the box does it say this.
Hmm.
You use what you want. The tools that you have are the tools that you have,
Exactly.
and whatever you make of it, it's gonna define you. Like, you shoot with an 85, and people are gonna wonder when they see your street photos, like, what the hell is that guy shooting on? Those pictures are dope. You know what
Yeah,
I
and you tell
mean?
them an
And
85 and they're like, what?
yeah, oh, you're not supposed to use that. You're supposed to use a 35.
And I'm just like, no, I mean, it's like I'd rather, and especially now with COVID, it's like that's the social distance lens, man.
Yeah, I'm
It's
serious.
the perfect length to just get the shot and like not get close to people.
Yeah, same thing like my F4 7200. I use that thing on everything, and
Dude,
like
you get some
it
killer
looks
results with that thing.
it looks funny because especially that one, like that's not the bulky, 70 to 200 lens, so it still sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
But I'm shooting at 200 most of the time, and I'm just far away, so it's like I don't care if like somebody looks at me, they're wondering what the hell I'm doing with this lens that's
yeah.
just
And also,
shooting
everyone's
out.
wearing a mask nowadays, so they can't really say it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like I don't want you to photograph and like get my likeness. It's like, well, I don't know what you look like, so
Yeah. So, and then I'm most of the time just shooting like surfers off the pier, shooting people on
yeah,
the
those
piers or
surfer photos
something.
you
And like
got, man.
they don't really care. Like nobody really cares like nowadays.
Yeah, because everything's online. Like everyone's connected some way to the internet.
Yeah. I've done some in LA like maybe around like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I didn't really get too many people looking at me like, what the hell is this guy doing,
Yeah,
pointing a
yeah,
camera at me? But I'm sure people are used to it, especially in LA, or like if you go to like Hollywood because there's tourists around. They're probably just like, oh, it's just another bozo with the camera.
yeah.
Like,
Some hipster.
yeah, rob him.
Insurance, man. I got it. I'm good. I'll get a brand new camera. I'll get an R5.
Serious, I'm still hoping I win the Jared Pullen
The
freaking
super
camera
huge mega.
giveaway.
I love his giveaways. Yeah, like, and you know, it's funny how he shoots Nikon. He still loves Nikon, but right now for his professional work, he's using Sony because it makes them like it just makes sense for him. But it's just funny how, like, if you have a bias or preference for a camera nowadays, you're either like sponsored by them, getting paid by them to say nice things about these cameras, or you're just a fanboy. And I don't really know when the community kind of like shifted to being like obsessed with specs and camera brands.
Yeah. My first real camera, it's kind of embarrassing, was a Coolpix. But I would, even though I had that camera and it was better than my cell phone at the time,
Yeah.
when I got into photography, it was about 2011, 2012-ish. I was on the road a lot and I was shooting with my iPhone because I was always around beautiful scenery, so
Yeah.
I just would shoot it, and then just the ease of, okay, I'm gonna upload it to Instagram and put like 5 million filters on it and get this cool effect. You throw it in airplane mode and it, saves it to your phone. Then you upload it again and put another filter on it in
Yeah.
airplane mode, and then finally, like, okay, it's done. I think I'm good.
Yeah, it's funny that yeah, kind of like a similar start with photography to how I did it as well, because I got started 8 years ago, and it was like tail end. It was like the week of Christmas 2012. My family and I took a trip up to Big Bear Lake, so we were at a cabin lakeside. It was snowed over. Beautiful, beautiful scenery to wake up every morning for a whole week.
Nice.
And there was no Wi-Fi or anything like that, so I would just take pictures on my phone. And I actually didn't upload them to Instagram because at the time I didn't have Instagram. I uploaded them to Flickr. So
The
that
Flickr
that
account.
just completely just I think aged us. But I would do the same thing. I would just throw in a filter because I was editing it,
Yeah.
and then
People
just
still use Flickr though. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to see a lot of nudes, that's where they upload them.
Yeah.
Because I guess Instagram and everywhere else like bans you from it. So
Yeah.
the whole nude community, or like boudoir and like just people like modeling and stuff, it's all still on Flickr.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
Also,
photographers are on
for
there.
those of you who don't know, Manny's
Yes, I'm
a
a boudoir
boudoir
photographer.
photographer. He does some really good stuff.
Thanks,
So you definitely check
I
out
try.
his work. But yeah, so like, I was putting it on Flickr, and then like after I got home, I bought that Fuji Mega Zoom, and then my
Nice.
first like real DSLR was a T3i.
Nice.
Then I upgraded to the 70D. Then I went to 6D, first full frame. Or sorry, 70D. Then I sold the 70D. I bought a Pentax.
Nice.
I flirted with Pentax for about 6 months. Fantastic cameras. The biggest gripe I had with that system is that they had no lenses.
Oh.
Like, and they were all APS.
Are they APS-C or are they Micro Four Thirds?
Well, now they're full frame as well.
Oh, okay.
But at the time, they were the only camera brand, I think, besides Fuji that did crop sensor cameras, or APS-C only.
Mm-hmm.
But for the price, like, it was really weather sealed, shot really fast. The lenses I had were pretty good. They were like the 24-70 equivalent, and I think I had like a 50. But then I sold that, went back to Canon, bought the 60, original 60 Mark 1, then the 5D4, then the GH5 for video because I started getting into video. Then I sold those two, went to Sony, then sold that, went back to Canon.
Yeah.
And then I became the Canon dude. And then now I'm doing low visuals, and yeah, that's how we're here. I actually met Manny through my Instagram account.
Yeah.
Like I forget. Like, you just
back when I was I was looking to buy my RF 24-70, and I was looking. I was actually just doing. I always look at YouTube and just different reviews and stuff like that, and your video popped up on the Canon R, and then just on the RF 24-70. So I was actually watching that, and then I found your Instagram. I'm like, oh, dude, he takes some dope ass pictures. So then I was texting you on there, and you got back to me right away, and I thought it was cool. Like, hey man, this guy's answering all my questions. You even video chatted me one time. We were talking about that.
I remember that.
Then after that,
Now we're friends.
fucking hit the button, and I'm like, dude, I just got it.
I know. And then like when you told me, I was like, oh, he finally did it.
I'm like, fuck, my bank account sucks
Oh,
right
dude,
now.
that's the one thing with RF lenses is that they're okay. If anyone's shot with a Canon RP or R, and even now with the R5, R6, like if you ever use an RF lens, there's just nothing like it in my opinion. Because it's just I don't know what Canon did with the glass and just the design,
Yeah.
but it's just like when I first bought the RF 24-70 and I took my first set of photos with it, I was blown away by the results. I was shooting at 2.8, everything was like tack sharp, corner to
Yeah.
corner. And before that, I was using the EF 24-70 2.8 version 2, and that's a legendary lens. It's like a
Yeah.
9-10-year-old lens, and it's still relevant. But yeah, after I used that RF, I was just like, yeah, there's no going back.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I think I even told you like I didn't really understand the whole like red ring concept, like the
Mm-hmm.
whole like okay, you got to get an L series lens. Like I always figured, as a photographer, you use the tools that you have. I always went for primes because I love shooting with primes.
Primes are fun.
Most of my stuff was portraits, but I do concerts as well. And sometimes, even though I loved my primes for concerts, it would have been nice to have a nice zoom lens
Yeah.
like the one I have now. And I didn't really notice the difference till I bought that RF 2470, and it was definitely worth the money. Speaking of the room that we're in now, this room was a dedicated music room before, and I had like an overabundance of music equipment. I play everything musically, so I had to have a whole dedicated room to just store all my music crap in. And because I've been moving around, I bought a house or I bought a condo, and I don't have my music equipment at home. I decided, hey, since I'm not really doing music and photography is like more of my passion nowadays, like I ended up selling like half of my recording studio to buy the RF lens and my
Mm-hmm.
RP and all the gear that I have now, which some people were like, "Oh, was it worth it?" And I'm gonna say, "Fuck yeah, it was worth it," because I have so much fun with my camera gear. I have so much fun with just rolling around with you and
Yeah.
Adrian, and hopefully we can hook up with Jaden soon and just do some more
Gotta
stuff.
go to
And
San
like,
Diego for that, man.
yeah, we gotta go visit the coffee house over there.
James Coffee.
Yep, I've never been there,
Oh,
so we
dude, it's
gotta
so good.
go.
It's cool. Like if you've ever been to, the best way I could describe it is like, think of it as a mini version of like Grand Central Market. If you've ever been
Oh,
to,
okay, yeah, I've been to Grand
so
Central
there's like
Market.
different shops and like,
Nice.
so you go in there. The main section is the coffee house.
Uh huh.
Behind the coffee house is like their James shop at home, like you buy all the merch.
Mhm.
Then they have a place that sells like candles, beads, and a bunch of other jewelry. Another one that sells art of play, actually, where I bought my first fancy playing card deck
Nice.
that started an addiction. I think I just bought the new Star Wars decks
Yes.
they should be coming today.
I'm surprised you're getting yours. I mean, well, you said there was a problem with the mail, but I
Yeah.
got mine first, and you ordered yours first, and I they actually and the tracking didn't say it was even on its way. It
Oh,
was like it
okay.
was just still it said still processing, so I
Oh, that's
wasn't
weird.
even expecting it, and then I ended up having some back issues, and I took some medication to like relieve the muscle like pressure, and I ended up that medication always kicks my ass. So I was out for like a day. I woke up in the morning for work, and I'm like, hey, I got my cards. This is cool to wake up to.
It's like Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it was like Christmas. So I've yet to shoot them,
Yeah,
but yeah, like I can understand that card addiction. Like
it's fun, dude.
when I broke open those Star Wars cards, and I didn't really want to break them open because I figured, oh, these are collectors. Even though I can probably buy another set because
Yeah.
those red and blue ones are,
The
you
thing I've
know,
learned with playing cards, because I have a friend of mine that always like we just chat about it.
uh huh,
He says if you're gonna buy playing cards, they're kind of like shoes, like the shoe game where like you buy limited editions and then you flip them.
uh huh,
So buy limited edition playing cards that usually come in sets of 1,000,
uh huh.
because those go for like triple the asking price in a couple months.
Yeah, I'm a little weary about opening those
Uh,
black and white editions
I
because
mean,
I
I
don't
think
know if they're gonna be just special edition or if they're actually gonna continue making
I
them.
mean they probably will, and even if they do go out of print, they're probably not gonna go for a whole lot just because they're very like readily available and like easy to get.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe 10 years from now that might change. I don't know. I'm still very new to the card scene, so
Yeah, it's still
take
cool as
everything I'm saying
fuck.
with a grain of salt.
But yeah, just the textures of the cards, like shooting them, it's fun. And then if you can get some nice lighting behind them, like
Hmm.
that, those card pictures that I took were my first like go around, and you told me they were dope, and I'm like, fuck yeah, David says they're dope.
And they're dope.
You know, he knows what he's talking about. He does fucking awesome like product photography work. So like, it's cool to kind of play around with the shit and
Mm-hmm.
you know get advice from people who do it better than you can. So okay, so off of the card subject, um, you want to talk about how COVID's impacted us.
Yeah.
So for the boudoir photographers, I mean, there's some that's still doing pretty well, but for me, like, I haven't really been getting any boudoir clients.
Right.
And so right now, what I'm trying to do is, since I have the capability of shooting at a distance, um, I'm trying to set up everything digital. Like, I was talking to Adrian about Pixie to maybe see if I can put everything on there, so that way they can purchase their albums, they can purchase whatever they need straight through there.
Yeah.
Everything could be billed through like Venmo, and then I can just do digital contracts or something like that. But I mean, I'm still working that out. I wasn't expecting this, and since I do have a day job, I'm not really too concerned about it.
Yeah.
However, for someone like you who's doing more like video and photography, like how has it affected you as far as your clientele
Well, I
goes?
mean, I got hit pretty hard. Like a lot of my clientele kind of like up and dried up because everyone kind of got heavily affected. And I was actually working a day job too. Currently, I'm on unemployment, so
Okay.
it's been a blessing. So it's been able to help me
Get a
pay
little
the
more
bills,
creative.
get more creative, and it's also helped me kind of like kill off most of my credit card debt, which is a great feeling to say.
Yeah.
But it's definitely impacted me where I actually shot my first wedding about a month ago. It was a
Uh-huh.
backyard wedding, so it wasn't anything crazy.
Oh, I think you
But
shared some video
yeah,
clips.
yeah, and I shot
It came
everything
out
on the
really good.
RP, and it came out great. It was just like super basic video, just like lock it off on a tripod and just let it run.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first gig I've gotten like for a wedding this whole year. That was the first like
Wow.
big gig I got. And then right now, me and Adrian are just working with like a bunch of small businesses doing like
Okay.
their marketing, social media, and all that because, especially with the way things are now, restaurants and coffee houses, I feel definitely need more content
Yeah.
to stay relevant. Especially because it's like people don't really have the ability to go and dine in anymore, so they can't really see what the food looks like.
Yeah.
So photos will help potentially sell these items to would-be customers, but
Nice.
that's kind of like how we're pivoting, and I'm just jumping all in on like YouTube little by little. I haven't done anything because I'm waiting for the R6. I want to put that camera through the
Yeah.
paces, and
Well,
then
I think we got to get out there and do it because your
yeah.
channel needs some love too, and it's a great channel. Like, I don't know if you want to plug it.
I mean, yeah, we could plug it. So it's youtube.com/David Lopez Visuals. My Instagram is DLoVisual, so it's pretty consistent. Uh, reason I don't really update that channel too frequently is just because again I'm a photographer first, video
Mm-hmm.
second, and right now the big thing I really want to focus on is the R6 because it's current, it's relevant,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are probably going to be curious about it if it overheats and all that. So I want to do kind of like a review like that.
Okay.
But I am working on my next short film. I call it Just Start. And if I had to pick two words to describe it, it's bleak optimism.
Okay.
And it's kind of going to be focusing on how COVID's like really impacted us, like all of us, not just me or you, it's just like businesses and whatnot. And then kind of like how I've used my free time that I have now to get to where I'm at, like, build up my Instagram to 43,000 followers, to start pivoting my photography business to do more
Mm-hmm.
marketing for small businesses and little things like that, just to kind of give people a little bit of hope and
Yeah.
something to potentially make them feel inspired during these very adverse times.
Yeah. And I think it's cool. Like, just the whole concept of the short film, and then just like what you were saying, what you and Adrian have been doing.
Hmm.
I think that's really great. I feel like content creators are gonna basically rise up out of this whole situation because like what you were saying, a lot
Yeah.
of businesses are gonna need that help. They're gonna need that push. They're gonna need people to you know show food, show, like their products, show, even travel, like
Yeah.
again, because people are going to be scared to travel. So, like, a lot of the content creators are going to have to show that, like, oh, it's fun to travel, like, go travel. Like, I mean, people still can travel, they just have to do it safely. I mean, you
Yeah.
can still get in your car right now and take a trip a couple hours out and explore, like, do it. And why stay
Yeah.
at home, especially if I had the chance to be home and, unemployment. I would probably just do that because I would drive myself crazy and the people at my house just doing nothing, like, or
Yeah.
just even doing stuff at the house. I'd be like, just leave, go away.
Go do something.
Yeah, go do something.
Yeah, it's
So,
like I've been wanting to go back and do like street photography, for instance, but it's just
yeah,
because there's been a recent like surge of cases. I've been very wary of it. You know,
yeah,
and I wear a mask when I go out, and like even now, you guys can't see it, but we're 6 feet apart. We're not directly talking at each other.
yeah.
But we both did get tested. We both tested negative, so we're okay.
hmm
But we're taking all these extra precautions just to be safe.
Yeah, even this week, like, I was worried that we weren't going to be able to even start this. We've been talking about this for
Yeah,
like, what, a month, 2 months?
about a month, I think. Yeah, yeah,
So almost about starting this thing, and you had some stuff come up, your COVID scare, and then knew I had to pick up my daughter out in New Jersey, and I'm like, man, I don't feel comfortable with this airplane ride for your like 10
that
hours with
must
a
have been
mask.
that must have been a
Oh, it
fun
was
ride.
uncomfortable. I don't know how doctors do it with a mask that long. Like,
Yeah,
my ears were so raw at the end of the
they're just
day, and
itchy.
like the airlines, they give you like the doctor style mask,
Oh,
and
the
it is
N95s.
easier to breathe with those little, like, paper mask, whatever, like, but the things that go around your ears kill you. And like the mask that I have is like a nice cloth one with a filter, and
Hmm.
just the rubber band doesn't hurt my ears as much as
Yeah,
these ones do. So like I can't imagine the doctors having to wear these things for multiple hours. Just their ears and their face must just be raw, because I couldn't even do like, what, 11, 12 hours with it, and sleeping with it was like the most uncomfortable thing. I can't even understand how they do it. Like, they're superheroes.
yeah. Like, props to them, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what we're both at right now. It's definitely changed a lot of things for us, but
Yeah.
I'm optimistic that the more you delve yourself into and really like deep dive into your craft, whatever that may be, whether it be music, voiceover, acting, photography, or video, it's like going to the gym. The more you do it, the more better, or rather, the better in shape you're gonna get, and then like the healthier you're gonna feel, and then
Yeah.
when you come out of this, you're gonna be that much better in your skill set.
Yeah, and I would say to other photographers, like in my field doing the boudoir, or just even like if you're a portrait photographer, obviously your clientele is gonna suck right now.
Hmm.
A lot of people are doing like porch photo shoots because they have, they can have a family on their porch and they can stay distant or whatever. But go back to the roots, and I would say just find other things to take pictures of. Like, that's why I'm kind of doing the whole thing with the playing cards and just trying different product stuff, because I want to push myself to learn other aspects of photography, because it's going to help me grow and understand things. Like,
Exactly.
shooting boudoir has kind of helped me learn light a lot better than what I was, because I would always shoot natural light. And so in the boudoir situation, not everybody's room, or not wherever you're shooting is not always going to have great light. So end up having to buy lighting for that, and learning how to manipulate that light to get, the outcome that I want. So that kind of helps with the product photography that I'm like starting to learn now as well. And so I would say go back to your roots, and if you can't shoot people, shoot everything. Like,
Yeah.
find something in your house to shoot, take pictures of your kids, take pictures of your animals,
Yeah,
like,
and just like go on YouTube. There's so much resources
yeah, do street
on that
photography. I
platform.
mean, throw on a mask, throw on a lens where you can stay distant and practice
85
some
all day,
stuff,
man.
like,
No, definitely, and it's just like like YouTube. There's so many free resources. There's a lot of great content creators out there that give
yeah,
out
so
fantastic
much.
stuff. Like Peter McKinnon was one of the first people I started really like binge watching on
Same
YouTube.
here.
Just because a lot of the stuff that he shares really like got me pumped up and inspired to go
Him
out and
and Maddie
shoot.
too, and like it just seems like Maddie hasn't done tutorial stuff in a while, but
Yeah,
like, yeah, like when I first
but I do like
started,
his the direction his channel's going. It's
I
just
like his vlogs.
it's very it's very different than Peter's because I think a lot of people nowadays, including myself, try to emulate that Peter McKinnon style with like the type B-roll shots and all that stuff set to music.
Yeah, because he
And
created his own thing,
yeah,
and like,
and Maddie doesn't really use that. Like I think very rarely,
yeah,
but his stuff feels more like you're watching a little like documentary.
yeah, and I think he nails it, and especially like with his vlogs too. Like he
Yeah.
nails the story
His
and the
son's the best
ending,
though.
and yeah, and same thing with like Casey Neistat. Like I miss his videos. Like he just finally put out a video the other day of him taking a road trip to go see his son, and it's like I miss seeing his vlogs. I miss seeing like his content, and
Yeah.
I understand he's got a family to raise now.
Yeah.
Like he just really wants to hone in on family, and hopefully he'll be back because I really do enjoy his videos too. Like
Yeah,
his
I
daily
mean,
vlogs were.
his that guy's like legendary.
Yeah.
I think he's out here in California now. I think in
Yeah, he's up
Venice.
by Venice Beach, which
Okay.
I hope to run into him someday because like I've watched so many of his videos and like he got me going too. Like
Yeah. Yeah, like
it's
even my photography style, like at the time, like I didn't really have a direction I really wanted to take it. But then once I started following Peter McKinnon, like I feel like his style definitely influenced mine.
yeah.
And it is what it is now because of him. And there's a quote that comes to mind from this street photographer in Japan. His name is Lucas Palka. Go
Hmm.
look him up. He does a lot of like night photography in Japan, and
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I watch his videos
yeah,
too.
his
He's really
stuff is
good.
so good. Like the colors he gets, it's very cyberpunk.
Yeah.
But in one of the videos that Jason Vong interviewed him when he was out in Japan, he basically said that it's okay to like copy or like learn from the masters, but put your own spin on it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I did with my style. It is very much inspired by Peter McKinnon's
Hmm.
style, but it has my own like flair to it that like
Yeah.
when people look at like some of the photos and the way I edit them, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's totally David."
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think because I've never really thought of me having like my own particular style. And the people that actually said that were the people at Espresso Cuts when sometimes I'll send them a photo or they'll see a photo of mine pop up on their
Uh-huh.
feed. They don't even have to look at who
They
posted it.
know who it
They
is.
know it is who it is based off of
It's
the
actually
edits.
it's actually true too, because like the whole bull strap thing, like one of their pictures popped up on my feed and it wasn't a picture that you shared with us in the group, like
Hmm.
one that you took. And I immediately knew it was your photo.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's David's photo. Like as soon as I saw it, and it's cool. Like you're growing, you're definitely
It's really cool.
developing the style, especially with you like starting to do your YouTube a lot more. Like I can see it changing because I did watch some of your older YouTube videos when I first found your channel,
Yeah.
and like the
Yeah, it
whole
was
like Power
complete.
Rangers thing.
It
Do
was
you
so
remember
different.
that?
Yeah, I remember like so I'll talk about that real quick for people who haven't seen it. So my friend Carlos he runs the YouTube channel called We the Geeks of East LA, has over 100,000, I think almost 200,000 subs last I checked.
Man.
And it's all Power Rangers. There's a huge community for
Yeah.
it still. It's because it's awesome. It's like Transformers, Pokemon, there's huge
Yeah.
fandoms for it and my friend Daryl was the one that introduced me to him, and we all kind of just clicked. So
Hmm.
we were all just helping each other out, just trying to figure things out, get ahead. And so I helped them out with a lot of stuff because they definitely wanted to like take the video up a little bit better in quality because I forgot what camera they were using.
So were you the one who actually shot that video that was on there, or you did all
Uh,
the video editing, or?
well, I mean the channel that the video that's on my channel was what I shot,
Yeah.
and then some of the extra footage that wasn't in that video I gave to them so they could edit
Oh,
for
okay.
their stuff. Just because again like even if they weren't paying me, it's just like it's fun to work with other people
Yeah.
that are like minded. It's fun to network and grow and learn stuff from other people. Um, and it's fun because you make friends. Like that's how you and I
Yeah.
got started. And like Jaden's the same story. Like he just hit me up one day on Instagram. We started chatting about cameras and whatnot, and then now we're
Hmm.
friends.
Yeah.
And I can definitely say that I'm very grateful for my Instagram and the community that's kind of been built around it because
Hmm.
I've made a lot of new friends. Like I'm part of this other group called Gear Acquisition Syndrome,
Hmm.
and it's me and like a bunch of other people like Kelly Lopez, Mike, the guy from My Gear Photo,
Oh, okay.
um, Phototech 7. He's the guy that shoots with like a 60. He does a lot of
Yeah.
lighting stuff. And we're all part of this group and we're just like talking cameras but a lot of them are like overseas, so it's
Uh-huh.
cool to have friends like in the Netherlands or like in in
Yeah.
Europe, and it's just like, oh, that's crazy that I'm part of this community.
Yeah, and it's weird because I know other photographers, but I don't have like photographer friends, like friends that I can geek out with. So it's
Yeah,
like when I met you and Adrian, it's like you guys were like my first like friends that I can just
yeah,
like geek out over gear with or geek out over this and oh hey, let's go try this or let's go to downtown or something.
yeah. And
And
it's refreshing to have people like you and Adrian around, because like I have my photographer friends as well. But we're all, everyone has a life. Some of them have
yeah,
kids, some of them don't. But it's just like our schedules never really matched up. And then I do have other friends that I've wanted to go out and shoot with who dabble in photography, but they don't really
yeah,
see it other than like just a little side hobby.
yeah, same here.
So it was just like when like I started hanging out with Adrian and you, it's just like it's refreshing to have people that like push you forward. And like the only reason I've gotten better at like marketing, for example, and putting myself out there is because of Adrian.
Hmm.
And like when you see like whenever you see him working on stuff for marketing, he's very confident in the way he talks. A lot of people think he's full of himself. I don't think so. It's just he's just really confident in what he talks about, and and he's talking to you about marketing,
Yeah.
he puts you at ease because he's knowledgeable in that. I mean, shit, that's what he went to school for.
Yeah, and
he has a
that's
piece of
very
paper that
important for
says
sales or for
that.
business. Yeah, you know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like you need if you're not confident with yourself, or you're not confident with your work, you're never going you can be the world's greatest
Hmm.
photographer, videographer, you're just never going to sell anything because
Exactly.
people aren't going to have that trust because it's your body language. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's kind of cool that he's showing you that cuz like
Yeah, and it's funny too because it's like I started mentoring
uh
him almost I think about 2 years ago. I met him when he was still working as a barista at Blue Bottle,
mhm.
where I was a frequent at. And we just started talking about cameras and everything. Then he bought a camera, and then I just started helping him, mentoring him, and then now he is where he's at because not because I'm trying to brag and say like, oh yeah, I taught him everything I know, but like he really put the hard work and
Yeah.
effort to get to where he is based off of some of the stuff I showed him.
Mhm.
But overall, as a group, all of us kind of like push each other forward and we learn from each other, and I think that's important to have in any type of like community or friendship. You want
Yeah, and
to,
it's cool too because like I'm noticing he's developing his own style, and like just seeing his work and stuff. It's cool because like next time we go out and do like some street photos or what we were talking about
yeah,
doing like the little like portrait photo challenge.
yeah.
Like I'm curious to see what we're going to do and how our styles are gonna look so
And we
different.
could
Like that's
each.
one thing that like
Oh,
is cool
actually,
about photography is just
I
like
just thought
five
of
people can shoot the same thing, but it's
yeah.
not gonna look the same. It's
I just thought
gonna
of something. So we each have like a favorite lens. So I like the 85. You like the 70 to 200. Adrian
uh,
has the 35 Sigma. What if for this challenge, and we could probably do this at some point when our schedules line up, we all swap lenses. So
yeah.
I'll let him use the 24 to 70, which he's not really too familiar
Yeah.
with. He had it for a bit, but then he sold it
It's
to.
kind of not fair though because
Well, yeah, he has the zoom,
I've worked with primes my whole like the whole
but
time. This
oh
is like
yeah,
the
that's
first
very
zoom,
true.
so primes are easy to me, especially 85 because
Yeah,
like on my crop sensor when I had
yeah,
my T6i like my 50 was an 85.
yeah.
So I got so used to that focal length. It was just like ease.
Well, then what we'll do is we'll give you the 85 and then crop your sensor so it's like a 136 millimeter equivalent.
Yeah.
But yeah, just something like that because like I don't really shoot with the 7200. When I
Yeah.
had the same 7200 that you have, I only used it for weddings and that was it because it was too big and
Or what
bulky.
we can do to make it interesting is you can keep your lens,
Okay,
but we're gonna pick the concept of what you're
there
gonna
we go.
shoot.
That actually, I kind of like that idea better.
Because then you're kind of
Then
fucked because you
yeah,
have to
cause,
do it there. Wait,
and
whoever
it's and
says
it's
it.
and it's a lot fairer to the
Yeah,
person shooting as well, and it's very unbiased and neutral.
yeah. I think it'll be
But
cool.
see,
We'll figure out
this is what I'm
something.
talking about. Have friends that pull you up, whether that be creative friends or just friends in general. Because if you're around people that bring a lot of positivity to you, they're gonna pull you up. It's kind of like that saying where, like, if you're friends with like 5 millionaires, you're gonna be the sixth one.
Yeah,
Well, I believe that if you're friends with 5 people that are very creative and like positive minded, then that is gonna like I mean you're gonna end up picking a lot of those good habits and positive vibes from them up, and then you're gonna be a much better person and creative because of it.
yeah. All right. So
I think this
just
is
to
a
kind
good
of
place to stop, right?
yeah, just to kind of close out, I just kind of want to say you can help me close out with this too.
Mhm.
As far as like cameras go, there's a lot of, just gripe over this Canon, R5 and
Yeah,
R6, and there's the whole Sony Canon rivalry, and I just want to like say, just don't get caught up in all that. Like,
just use what you got.
use what you got, and whatever you shoot, look at what you do. Like, do you shoot video? If you're a videographer, then you're probably not gonna want a mirrorless camera to shoot video on. You're probably gonna want a cinema camera.
If you got the money, yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't have the money for a cinema camera, you probably want to be in the market to look to see what offers
Yeah.
the better video specs for you. What's more video geared toward, and it's probably the Sony, because the Sony is marketed as a video camera.
Yeah.
And if not, what is it, the GH? Is it the
GH5.
GH5 or is it the GH7 a video?
No, the GH7 isn't even a thing yet. Like
Oh, okay. I've
so they have
been
the
hearing about it, but I
so
don't
they
know.
have the GH5 and then the
Uh-huh.
GH5S, which is kind of like, think of like the A7S equivalent
Okay.
for
So is
the
the 7
Samsung.
like a thought, like they're gonna release
Yeah,
someone, or-
eventually, but we don't know because since they have their full frame now, the
Uh-huh.
Micro Four Thirds line might be on its way
Oh,
out.
okay.
But yeah, like, to echo what Manny says, like, at the end of the day, the cameras are tools. You're the person that needs to learn how to use those tools, and if there are some limitations or caveats like overheating, but this is the system that you're going with, it's up to you as a creative individual to figure out a solution for that problem, because when a client's paying you money, they don't give a crap what camera you're using. Unless it's a high-end production, like for
Yeah.
Hollywood, that they want you to use like a Red Dragon or an Arri Alexa. That's a completely different story, but, that's, I think, when they'll really care about it. But if it's somebody that, you're shooting a wedding for, or small scale, like, production work, they're not really going to care at the end of the day what camera you're using, as long as you get them the results. So if you have issues with your system, figure out what those issues are, find solutions to them. If you have to carry an extra body, if you have the money, buy 2 bodies. It's always a good rule of thumb to have a backup body in case something happens to your main camera, and then you can still get the job done. Because if you can't get the job done, you're not going to get paid, and you're going to have a really pissed off client.
And here's another thing too. There's camera stores, there's online sites that allow you to rent these bodies, to rent the lenses. Before you go drop $4,000 on a camera that you're gonna be pissed off about because you bought because of the specs and not for what you're actually gonna be using it for, rent it. Rent it
Mm-hmm.
for like a week. It's probably a couple $100 to rent it for a week, but that couple $100 is not $4,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't do what I did, where it's like, when I switched to Sony, I did it more so because everyone on YouTube was saying like, "Oh yeah, Sony's the way to go," and I didn't do my research. I was like, "All right, fuck it, I trust what these people say," and I didn't like the system.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
almost went there too. Like when I was looking for a new camera, I wanted to get out of the T6i. I wanted something that can handle low light better, something newer, and I almost went Sony because you can shoot in the dark, is what everybody says.
It's like night vision
But
goggles.
I don't think I would have been happy because of the menu system. I don't think I would have been happy with just how user friendly it is.
Yeah.
So I stuck with Canon, which is what I've always shot with, and I'm happy with that RP.
Yeah.
Like it serves my purpose for photography. It serves my purpose for my boudoir shoots, and I did my first like 2, or no, I actually did 3 shoots with this RP, and it fucking blew me away.
Yeah.
Like just how sharp it was, how like low light I can get, the fact that I can, if you have a lens that's stabilized, you can get really low if you need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And still get a sharp picture. And yeah, just at the end of the day, do your homework, rent the freaking camera, rent the
Mhm.
lenses, and see what you need before you go drop the money on it. Don't let your favorite YouTube creator get in your head and think, oh man, I need to have what they have, or don't let
No, don't do that, because that's how you end up in debt. Like I did that with
Yeah.
like the Ronin S and like the Atomos Ninja 5, and just buying a lot of shit that I saw YouTubers using that I didn't need, because my needs. And here's the thing. You can see all the YouTubers using all the expensive toys and whatnot, but their needs are always going to be different than your needs, because
Yeah.
they're doing things at a much different level than you're currently at.
Yeah.
Unless, if you're a professional and you're making a lot of money, and you know for a fact that you can make that money back quickly, invest in that equipment.
And you can still rent it, and you can
Yeah,
set it in
that
your
too.
budget as a camera rental and just rent it and never have to buy it.
Yeah.
So
But definitely like understand what your needs are first, and then based off of those needs, find what camera is best for
yeah,
you.
what fits you, because
Yeah.
at the
And
end
what
of the day, it's what you're going to produce. So
exactly. And with that said, thank you guys so much for listening to the Photo Brew. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and we're again in the process of making this a video podcast, so stay tuned for that. Manny, where can they find you?
they can find me on Instagram at Manny Besserell, and I'll probably have to put a link down below because wherever this podcast is aired, just because you're probably not going to know how to spell my last name.
That is very true. And then you guys could also find me on Instagram, which is at DLoVisuals, and then youtube.com/David Lopez Visuals. Thank you guys so much for listening. I was going to say hit that like button, subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you in the next video. But
However, you probably can find my other Instagram. My boudoir stuff is at Howlin Boudoir, and it's not Howling, it's Howlin Boudoir. So just without the G.
Yeah.
So
But
Howlin Boudoir.
thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
Peace.
Peace.